Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Well, keeping focused on that report as it has been published. Capt Aliyu Umar joins us now as a security consultant. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning.
Well, looking at that report, I know that the group said, look, we can't accept this. They said they had made that known previously, but the report also had some very tough words for the military. They did say that they used disproportionate level of force, and they should also be held responsible for that.
Yeah, I was privy to part of it, and they said they actually used what you call, there's this use of minimum force. And they said, but you see, I would have preferred non-lethal force, because minimum force itself cannot be defined. Okay, minimum force is ambiguous, particularly from my position as an observer. Minimum force is just what it says, minimum force, but it's proportional and it's also conditional. What you can term minimum force in situation A could actually be maximum force in
situation B,
and what you could term maximum force in one situation could be less than minimum force, and even probably not adequate force. So I would have preferred them to have actually probably used the word or the term non-lethal force.
Okay, because in this case, there were live ammunition.
Yeah, live ammunition indeed. There was shooting, and over 340 people were claimed to have been killed. And when you look at the situation involved, you discover that the whole event itself is ill-timed. Other than being ill-timed, it's fraught with inconsistencies.
Which is why I want to ask you, this is inconsistent. I mean, the military is a trained institution, and they're trained not to carry out any action without some level of provocation, right?
Yep.
So why would the army, having left the road, the next day return to allegedly kill this number of people? Is that part of the training they get?
Well, if you look at the situation at hand, for this particular purpose, I'm trying to stand aside, like if I had no military antecedents, and look at it. And I'll tell you something.
That's going to be tough. Let's see how it plays.
Yes.
Because you have the military antecedents.
To do that, you have to be brutally dispassionate.
Okay.
And that's something I'm quite comfortable with. Okay? It's not a popular position to take, but it works for me. I tell you something. If you looked at the remote and immediate causes of that unfortunate event, you should be able to draw some truths from it. Let's start from the beginning. It's really foolhardy, very foolhardy indeed, to want to confront a force that is just coming out of a sector where it was badly bruised ego-wise. So, what happened December 12th to December 14th?
Yeah.
They were shutting down or counting down on the deadline by the commander-in-chief to return Maiduguri to normalcy, and you decide that's the time you want to stand before them. Naturally, you are going to expect them to use you as some kind of
scapegoat.
Well, if you say scapegoat, fine, but I said, I'll put it this way, they will use you for promo, to clear doubts and further leverage what they have been able to achieve so far, 16 days to deadline.
Don't you think that'll be reckless on the part of the army?
Well,
they're professionals, they're trained.
That's what I'm saying. You could call it reckless. But you see, when you look at the scenario, both social, cultural, environmental, that greets the environment within the army relates, within which the army operates, it robs of them. Now, coming to that attack, a lot of things are not clear to me yet. And they are not clear to me yet because the army actually entered that place. Yes, they opened fire on people. Yes, they killed people. Yes. And we don't actually know the right figures. Some say 347, some say 349, some say something in between. But
the panel said 349, including one soldier.
So I would have expected a situation where, given the sensitivity of this case, we should have been able to have access to those corpses. We are not obviating the claim, but where the corpses were, is it buried in mass graves?
Yes, it was buried.
Where are
they said the state government buried them.
Okay, fine. If this government buried them, they were buried in mass graves. For us to be able to set correct precedents and make sure we get it right, hit this nail on the head once, we will need to exhume them. We will need to find out what was the cause of death. Okay? These are, as you know, as clinical as they may sound, they are meant to clear and remove any doubts. Because I tell you one thing I have observed with the issue of ethno-religious, that's ethnic and religious altercations. They are fraught with inconsistencies that are hidden in the dogma of this thing we call religion.
I'm sorry, are you suggesting that something else or somebody else other than the bullets from the army would have killed those people?
Probably, not probably. To clear any doubts, legally, scientifically, technically, would you allow people to be taken out for examination? Some very holy person will tell you, no, it's against our religious ethics. So why go seek justice in the kingdom of scientific, legal, and other, you understand what I'm saying, when you have so much faith in your religion which says it shouldn't be done? I mean, you can't eat your cake and have it. We are not saying it is right, but then we must begin to practice religion with our hearts while not leaving this head at home. That's what people do.
Let me bring Markway. Markway?
I'm just wondering what purpose that will serve. I mean, if you look at the circumstances, it's bad enough as it is from the claims that they have made, that there was an initial fracas. And then the army did come in. That story, the generality of the story that we've heard so far was that the army chief was trying to pass and then he couldn't pass and eventually they had to force their way through. A lot of people did not criticize that. What they criticized was the army going back. It would seem that was very premeditated and destroying the livelihoods of these people, destroying everything that they own and destroying the people, as it were. Now, a lot of people find that very questionable. Isn't it bad enough that that happened? Why do we have to exhume the bodies again?